The melting polar ice, the droughts, the mega storms. Climate scientists say they're already the results of the globe warming by 1 degree since the industrial age. In their report today, scientists with the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change issued a dire warning that the Earth can only handle another ½ degree more.
For different regions, for extremes, for ecosystems, livelihoods, it's very clear that ½ degree matters.
At about 4:40 p.m. it hit Dunrobin, a semi-rural community 35 kilometers west of downtown Ottawa.
My daughter was in the air. That's our unit over there. And when it ripped our roof, my daughter, she went flying up and I'm holding her hand.
Just imagine fire on either side of the road, flames licking the undercarriage of your car, then your car dies.
With hundreds of fires burning across the province, the BC government has declared a provincial state of emergency.
The mudslide surrounded my car as I was driving.
I looked over at the river and the trees were just coming down, choo, choo, choo.
Just to give you a sense of the rising waters already, we were here yesterday. This is basically a parking lot. I'm up to about my knees. It gets deeper with every foot.
In the far north of the Philippines, raging waters swept away trees and roads. Flooding was also widespread in Hong Kong and across southern China.
The dams feeding Cape Town's water grid are now less than a quarter full, and people have been told to limit what they use from the taps to 50 liters per person per day, or watch the city run dry.
What does it mean for a country like South Africa to have a city like Cape Town on the verge of losing its water?
Well, it's a total disaster for us. It shows the negative impact of climate change.
So sometimes we think, oh, it's so cold this winter, how could the planet be warming? But the glaciers are telling us that yes, over time, we have a warming planet.
There may still be ice, but it's not going to be there long enough to support and sustain a polar bear subpopulation here in western Hudson Bay.
These are just dishonest, terrible people. I'm telling you that. Terrible people. CNN, fake news, MSNBC, that's really the enemy of the people.
A California man was arrested for making violent threats against the Boston Globe. In one of 12 calls to the paper, Robert Chain allegedly said, "You're the enemy of the people. We're going to kill every effing one of you."
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President,
that's enough.
Ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question. If I may ask, are you worried about indictment?
CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either. You are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President, why are you pitting Americans against one another, sir?
Peter, what are you trying to be him?
Because they are the fake, disgusting news.
There's a fire alarm here. You might have heard it in the background. We're going to find out what the latest is
we'll
here
be right back.
at CNN. We're going to be right back.
But CNN's New York anchors were not right back. They were forced to report on the crude explosive device from the sidewalk. Later, Hillary Clinton spoke about the device addressed to her.
It is a troubling time, isn't it?
Yet again in this country, first responders race to the scene even as the event unfolds.
Okay, we got about 4 bodies down inside.
Those images of Americans led away from the scene of yet another mass shooting. This one at the offices of the Annapolis Capital Gazette newspaper in Maryland.
Most of the men MacArthur is accused of killing are among the same men police had been looking for years before.
It's a serial killer.
A twisted portrait of MacArthur begins to emerge.
Well, once again, we're live here on the National following major breaking news in Toronto. There are local media reports of
before the gunshots, sirens, and police tape. Danforth Avenue had been, as it always is on warm summer nights, a popular strip of restaurants, cafes, and ice cream shops, a draw for families. The chilling video shows how quickly a gunman can turn a best-loved neighborhood into 5 blocks of carnage.
We were eating and the guy started shooting, and we were sitting actually out on the patio and we heard shots, so we went inside, and then he came in the restaurant and he shot the girl right in front of me.
It all started around 1:30 this afternoon.
Which way was he going?
Police started getting calls about a van that had driven up onto a sidewalk fast, mowing down everything in its path.
Wu says the van braked, then sped off again, driving on the sidewalk for several more blocks, hitting one pedestrian after another. Hours later, dozens of officers and the coroner were still here, assessing the carnage. The victims still here too.
Just after 7 a.m., a call went out to Fredericton Police. Shots had been fired. At 7:10, 2 officers responded to this apartment complex.
The police was telling everybody to stay low and away from your windows.
At 8:17 a.m., the first few tragic details trickled in from police. Multiple fatalities. Then a little more specific, at least 4 people killed.
According to officials, there are 17 people dead. The alleged shooter is alive and in custody. And the community of Parkland, Florida, a placid suburb about halfway between Miami and Palm Beach, it is reeling from a day of terror and tragedy.
Never again! Never again! Never again! We are tired of fearing for our lives!
Welcome to the revolution.
Yesterday's shooting rampage at the Tree of Life synagogue, say police, a hate crime, didn't just leave 11 dead, it left a city stunned. The accused, Robert Bowers, reportedly shouted, "All Jews must die," as he opened fire. He may face the death penalty.
It's sad. It's a very sad day. We always said never again. But it did happen again.
And every day begins like this. As the sun gets up, it gets hot, and there are little people to push along. Jacqueline Cordonis' 3-year-old begged her days ago to quit walking. She wouldn't, but she managed to get a stroller. Her family fled poverty and gang-related violence.
Free the children now! Free the children now!
Not far from one of those detention centers in Texas, growing outrage over how the Trump administration treats illegal migrants. Specifically, children separated from their families after a directive from Donald Trump himself.
And what we know at this point is that the RCMP has, as you say, confirmed a number of fatalities and a number of injuries involving a passenger hockey bus.
We're gathered in a state of shock and unthinkable heartache. This tragedy has devastated our families, our Humboldt Broncos organization, our community, Saskatchewan, Canada, and our world.
How many of you? 13. Brilliant.
After days searching through dark, flooded chambers, this was the moment rescuers found the entire soccer team alive. The boys and their coach went into the cave as part of a team outing, but heavy rain flooded the way out, trapping them deep inside. Rescue crews, including those from the UK, China, and the US, had been painstakingly searching in the treacherous conditions.
Just days ago, it seemed their story might end in tragedy, but Thailand's daring rescue plan came through.
It's not just like the kids of their parents anymore, they have become our kids as well now. Ah, it's so nice. A lot of happy people here tonight in Thailand.
First, it was Ford's harrowing tale of sexual assault at a high school gathering 36 years ago.
I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me.
Locked in a bedroom, she described Kavanaugh as visibly drunk, groping her, pulling at her clothes.
I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth.
This is a circus. The consequences will extend long past my nomination. The consequences will be with us for decades.
Calling it a tremendous 24 hours with a very talented Kim Jong-un.
We will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
But our relationship has never been worse than it is now. However, that changed as of about 4 hours ago.
At 3:47 p.m., a camera then picked them up on a stroll. They then made their way to a nearby park, where an eyewitness noticed they'd collapsed on a bench after what police say was a suspected exposure to an unknown substance. That it is highly likely that Russia was responsible for the act against Sergei and Yulia Skripal.
Canada will always stand up for human rights.
Canada knows what it needs to do. Canada started this, and it's up to Canada to find a way out of it.
Canadians have always expected our government to speak strongly, firmly, clearly, and politely about the need to respect human rights at home and around the world.
Khashoggi, a dissident Saudi journalist living in exile in the U.S., went missing October 2nd. Last seen on this security video going into that consulate, Turkey believes a Saudi assassination squad was waiting inside and that he was captured, killed, and perhaps dismembered.
Many believed this day would never arrive. Donald Trump hated NAFTA and relied on his country's size, might, and used the threat of tariffs to get what he wanted at the negotiating table.
By the way, without tariffs, we wouldn't be talking about a deal. Just for those babies out there that keep talking about tariffs.
To keep the deal alive, the Prime Minister knew Canada would have to make concessions, admitting today some were more difficult than others.
Free and fair trade in North America is in a much more stable place than it was yesterday.
Thousands of General Motors workers and their families are suddenly in a very precarious spot.
This is a move that is going to have a huge impact, obviously, the thousands of workers themselves, their families, but the economic ripple effect will be felt far beyond General Motors.
I've been through a closure in London. I moved my family twice for this company, and they do this to me. It's terrible.
Peter Tosh's Weed Anthem, Legalize It, came out back in 1975. And today, over 40 years later, Canadians bought their first legal gram of pot at midnight in St. John's.
You've got a bag full of dope here, so I assumed, wow, you're just going to be stoned all the time.
No. This is for, I want to help people understand the importance of, knowing what you're doing before you get into it.
This is not the kind of reception Donna Strickland is used to in her laser lab at the University of Waterloo. Rockstar treatment for an associate physics professor who happens to have just won a Nobel Prize.
The Canadian Space Agency.
His mission is expected to last more than 6 months, so he'll have lots of time to get used to his new, weightless home high above the Earth.
Touchdown on Mars by NASA's latest Martian landing machine, part of a project dubbed InSight.
I'm still trying to absorb everything that happened because it seems surreal to me.